This is Quantum Flow Radio, organizing thought particles into a flow of collective consciousness.
Hello, my friend.
How you doing?
Awesome. How are you?
Great. Doing real good.
Good. I think last week you were awesome and I was great. So.
Yeah. Well, we can switch.
Well, why don't we both be
It's
awesome and
free
great?
will.
We'll just both be both.
That's awesome.
That's great.
See, we can never agree.
Well, maybe we can agree on a subject or a topic.
Like what?
I was thinking, because it's so prevalent these days, cognitive dissonance.
Nope. Don't want to talk about
Yep.
that.
See, that's what I figured.
Well, actually, I'm conflicted. I don't know if I want to talk about it.
Yeah,
or
I
not.
don't either. Yeah, no, it's okay.
You know
no,
what?
it's not.
No. Okay.
All right. So what is
So far, we're down to one viewer, right? One listener, right?
Yeah.
now.
So I was
All
thinking,
tuned out.
what exactly is cognitive dissonance? And I figured rather than just offer you my personal opinion of what it might be.
Yeah, all joking aside, this is a great topic and
Good.
so poignant, so spot on right now.
Yeah,
with
I'm
what's
thinking the
going
same
on.
thing, especially with what's going on, particularly with social media and politics
Yeah.
and what's taking place across the globe,
You know,
or across the plate.
Before we start drilling down, why don't you? Do you have a definition? Why don't we just kind of set the foundation of maybe like, because a lot of people maybe don't know the full definition of this or only know bits and parts of it because it's a fairly recently used term.
It is. In fact, like you said, many people outside of psychiatry and psychology and all that stuff, and even philosophy, don't really know what this cognitive dissonance thing is. So I figured I would just read this. It's a quick little blurb that would help everyone, including you and I,
Absolutely.
perhaps understand it a little better. So in the field of psychology, cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort, psychological stress, experienced by a person who simultaneously holds two or more contradictory beliefs, ideas, or values. This discomfort is triggered by a situation in which a belief of a person clashes with new evidence perceived by that person. When confronted with facts that contradict personal beliefs, ideals, and values, people will find a way to resolve that contradiction in order to reduce their discomfort.
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that with so many areas, like we mentioned earlier, social media, politics, religion, there's just so much of this cognitive dissonance. It's almost like a protective system that pops up like a tractor field,
And no doubt everybody has some of it.
Yes.
And but there's an extreme case.
Yeah, and some of the extreme cases are strictly driven by fear.
Yeah. And a lot of people have it, and they don't know they have it.
No.
That's the other thing. They kind of go through all these thoughts and all the stuff that they have to, consume on a daily basis, and it's just wow.
It is.
And there's people pulling you from different directions.
Yeah.
Here, listen to me.
Yeah.
Your friends on social media.
Right.
You want to believe them.
Right. Because you want to be their friend.
Yeah.
Because now they're just unfriend you.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's sad, but it's come down to that.
Maybe they're a true friend then. I don't
Maybe.
know. Yeah.
I don't know. But when you close your mind to the possibility that, I'm not saying that somebody might be wrong or closing your mind to the possibility that you're wrong. I'm just saying when you close your mind to the possibility of new information that may contradict that information that you've already taken in previously and you're comfortable with, then it becomes something you're not comfortable with. And it creates problems for some folks. It's just, I'm fine the way I am. This is what I believe, and I believe it to be true, and that's all there is to it.
It's a tough thing to handle where you have two conflicting or contrasting beliefs, and you're kind of understand both of them. And this is all part of the kind of the waking up or getting a new set of eyes, or we could equate it to getting like a pair of prescription glasses, and all of a sudden you start seeing things more clearly.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately this cognitive dissonance, and kind of it, if you look at the words, cognitive meaning knowledge or
Thought process.
thought process, yeah. And it's all, you're already doing it. It's not like it's information that's external to you. You already have it. It's
Yes.
come to you. And the dissonance, basically there's no uniformity. There's confliction and
there's
contraction, disharmony, exactly. And it can be more than two thoughts too. You could actually have 3 or 4 even conflicting things on one issue. And that's how conflicted a person could actually be. But as we know, when you start asking and sending out all this energy to the universe, searching for ultimately truth, you'll get there.
Yeah.
And it's through the cognitive dissonance. Everyone, you'll have to kind of go through this. In fact, as information comes to you, it may counter against what you believe, your foundation, you're already, where you're comfortable with. And these new beliefs, new ideas start unsettling those old ones. But that's how you grow. And you have to kind of you have to let yourself happen. In fact, you have to want it to happen. You have to let it go and go through that. And it's not easy, but if you really are seeking for truth, now you may have had truth previously, and going through this exercise you've learned or gone through a way of waking up, and maybe you're realizing your first thoughts were in fact what was right, or what you thought was right or truth. But more times than not, you're letting go of the old you, and coming into the new you. And the new you is more harmonious with,
the new information.
Yeah. But you're settling on truth.
Yeah, and that's science literally means proof knowledge. So when something is applied, for example, in the scientific world, it becomes true until proven to not be true.
Right.
But they're always open to prove that it's not true. See, because you keep testing, you keep doing experiments, you keep doing whatever, and so many times, so many of the previous brilliant scientists that we've had in the past, their theories that were taken as golden truth at the time have now fallen apart.
Right.
Because we have new information, and thank the universe, thank God, thank whoever you want for this new information. But I think it's awesome because it's allowing us to not only receive the new information, but to be able to spread it much faster now because of the internet and because of the way that the world is now becoming more and more connected electronically, digitally, and through knowledge and information, that we can spread that information much faster. Except for now, we seem to be hitting a brick wall with a lot of folks where they don't particularly want the new information. I'm not saying that cognitive dissonance is altogether negative. It's just it's a qualifier for a particular way that you do things.
Right.
And it's a choice.
And the dissonance gets in the way of truth. That's
Right, with a capital T.
With a capital T. And then, ultimately, this dissonance creates stress and disease within ourselves. And so we don't know kind of like what weighs up. And if we don't know, and we're not if we're not at ease with our thoughts, wow, you can have a rough day.
Sure, and it's kind of everybody knows what an aha moment is, and cognitive dissonance basically keeps that at bay.
Yeah,
you get an unaha moment.
Say that.
Yeah, I'd say that 10 times real fast. Yeah. So because what happens is, it's speaking to you within. It's speaking to that source of you, not your ego. But that divine oneness, that spark of all there is that's within you, that's sort of nudging you to say, hey, pay attention. This is new information, but I think you should listen to it. And the reason you don't feel good about it is that fear that's kicking in, that you don't want to hear it.
You hit it right on the head there. It's, as new information comes to you, you have the choice.
Right.
Either you kind of pay attention this time around, because most likely it's come to you before, you never noticed.
And it'll be persistent.
And it'll be persistent.
Until you get it.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you have to, this is where we get back to what you have to do on a daily basis. You have to just take time out, quiet the soul, your whole surrounding. You just need to like take yourself out of whatever you're doing and, turn off everything.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, what we're doing right here. We're just talking. Although we're doing it on an electronic device, the fact is that, we're listening and talking. Sometimes you can do this with other people. More times than not, it doesn't work.
No.
You have to do it yourself because you're probably not going to be with the right person that's going to understand your temper. And
or be open to it.
Well, of course,
back in the day, we could go back thousands of years where some of our greatest philosophers, didn't have all the toys and technology that we have now, but they would still gather around a table.
Probably a hell of a lot smarter.
Oh, yeah. They'd gather around that table and they would just throw ideas back and forth.
Sure.
What do you think of this? Well, what do you think of that? Well, what's your opinion on this? What's your opinion on that? And they would actually get somewhere.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't sit around and go, you're an idiot. No, where did you get that from? That's silliness. That's noise.
They were open-minded to the point where, hey, bring it on. Let me hear it. And we're not going to shut you down just because it's coming from a particular source. So that's a lot of the problem today. It doesn't matter if you're on the news or social media. Information is coming to you. And you may just shut it off because who's sponsoring it.
Right.
If you hate Fox
right.
or you hate CNN,
right.
you don't listen to it.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of watch everything because I'm an observer of all this. For some reason, I've been told.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you who told me, but I think you already know.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to observe all this stuff. I'm supposed to document kind of this history of everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It gets very consuming, and honestly, I get very tired of listening to the news.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to grow, and I really am trying to see everything from all different perspectives. And even though I think I may know, I'm still going to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to listen to this person, or I'm going to listen to this, and if there's any new information that just rings true, or something that's interesting, yes, I'm gonna take that and not own it, but I'm gonna temporarily kind of, look at it, analyze it, and if it's something of deeper interest or relative, profoundness, I'm going to, latch onto it for a longer time period, and then maybe I will become a part of me, but I don't have to do anything.
No,
if I don't want to.
And many times people will dismiss that message simply because, as you said, they don't like the messenger.
Right.
And you're missing it. People call, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? Well, what if Charlie Manson said that?
Well, I think he said, do unto others, then split.
Yes, exactly.
That was...
Don't talk about me. Don't mention me. Yeah, I'll be at the convenience store down there. But again, would it matter if Charles Manson said it or if anyone else said it, if it's true? No, because a true statement is true no matter where it comes from.
Right.
And so a lot of people sometimes, we're all human. We're all, living in this thing.
Most of us are.
Yeah, most of us. We try to be. And, we try to stay the course and live the enlightened life and all that, but we screw up every now and then, and then there's always that person that says, well, why don't you practice what you preach? Well, I never promised to practice what I preach. I promised to just preach. All I'm doing is sharing information that I've come across. And it's kind of like in the old days of American Bandstand, for anyone who remembers back to American Bandstand,
Sure.
They would have the rate a record thing. And, the standard answer might be, hey, it's got a good beat and I can dance to it. Didn't matter what the lyrics were, didn't matter who did it. All that mattered was it's got a good beat and I can dance to it. So same with truth. It's got a good message and I can vibe to it. If it speaks to your soul, if it speaks to the power within you, and it is not a contradictory statement to our default of perfection and oneness and goodness, then you're going to know as long as you don't block it out. You can just continue to avoid it. It's like, you're walking down the street, you're in, I don't know, I'm in Brooklyn, it's well, let's not say Brooklyn. Let's just say as some city, okay, and it's nighttime, and you're walking down this street, and you want to get home, and you're tired, so you could take a little shortcut through the alley, okay, and get there way faster. But that little voice inside of you says, "Hey, probably not a good night tonight to go through the alley," and you do it anyway, and you end up getting mugged. And then you look back on it and say, "Geez, I should have listened to that voice, that told me not to do it." Well, yeah, that's what the voice is there for. So, what we have to do is pay a little more attention to what's going on inside as we are paying attention to what's going on outside.
Right. Well, you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to do anything.
No.
But those of us who seek enlightenment, and that term has been thrown around
Yes,
a lot. Who is enlightened? What is enlightenment? I mean, it's a heavy term, and it comes with a lot of history, and you have to see, who kind of owned the term. Obviously, you could trace it back to a lot of different groups, and some
Sure.
people will equate it with the Illuminati. We won't go there right now, but
Not
if
right
you're
now,
enlightened,
but we will one day.
yeah, one day, yeah, stay tuned. If you're enlightened, that just, I guess a simple definition would be the person is aware, or where it's dark and you don't know, there's a little bit of light, and you have vision beyond what other people may be able to see, and
Yeah.
you have knowledge or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's not shared by everybody.
And a lot of it is linked directly to rather than action, or just response.
Yeah.
See, because response, you kind of kick back and wait, rather than act on something.
Yeah, cognitive dissonance is hand in hand almost with enlightenment, because what is the goal? The goal is to get to a certain point.
Right.
The cognitive dissonance is your situation before you get to the kind of to really where you want to be.
Yeah, and it's anti-us.
It is. It doesn't. I don't think it really is a natural part of us, because the dissonance comes from us always searching, knowing that there's something that's not right.
Right.
And many of us, you don't even have to tell us.
Yeah.
You just know something's awry right now. Something, and there's a lot of things. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. And with the disinformation, misinformation, this cognitive dissonance, I think, is at an all-time high. By the way, the term, I can't remember the philosopher who, maybe you could find that, but I think it was in the late 50s the term first came about. It's a fairly modern term, and I think it's a modern term because it reflects our confusing, busy lifestyles nowadays. I can't imagine the farmer 100 years ago having that much cognitive dissonance. But if you really want to kind of define it in a different way, I guess you'd have to almost provide an example. I guess a simple example would be this. Your doctor tells you not to eat a certain type of food, right?
Correct.
Okay. But supposedly it gives you heartburn or indigestion.
Mm-hmm.
But you go, okay, well, it's not that often, so you rationalize it. See, there you're going, okay, well, I could eat it once in a while. Also, I eat really well. I eat a lot of, other good, healthy foods.
Right.
But so in the back of your mind, you're doing something maybe you shouldn't be doing, but you do it anyway. You've rationalized it through many different ways to rationalize it, But this is your belief. Then you can go in two different directions. You can either continue to convince yourself that this is okay,
Mm-hmm.
or you can change it and maybe stop eating that.
Still a decision, right?
Still a decision, yeah. But we're consistently met with these little decisions all the time.
Right.
And so this is all ties back to thought and consciousness and everything else that you do. But it's nice to be able to quantify it with a term, and then see how it just permeates out into everything, especially on out into this social media, because on the surface you're going to tell somebody something and they're going to say, no, I just don't believe that, or I acknowledge that maybe that happened,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe that food's not good, but I'm just going to ignore it. I don't care. I've made my mind up. And until that person maybe, hey, goes, entertains maybe some, other ideas, they're kind of stuck.
Yeah, and stuck is a horrible place to be.
Stuck is.
I've been stuck. You've been stuck. We've all been stuck.
Yeah, but to be unstuck, you would have had to been stuck at some point, and
yeah, and you have that experience.
Right.
Experience is critical to understanding so many things, including cognitive dissonance, because it doesn't feel good.
No, you're.
But yet it does. It strikes a nerve that gets your attention. This information, this new information, that says, "Hey, listen to me," or "Give me a moment." Meanwhile, the other part of you, your ego self, says, "Well, I don't want to, because I'm perfectly fine the way I am, and this is what I believe for years, and this is how it's going to be." So now you have that internal battle. It's like the Native American story, the grandfather story, where the grandson comes to the grandfather and says, "What is life like?" And he says, "Well, little one, it's difficult. It's the easiest way for me to explain it is there are two wolves living inside me. One wants to destroy me, and the other one wants to bless me and have me have a wonderful life. And there's this battle that takes place." And so the little boy says, "Well, who wins the battle?" And the grandfather says, "The one that I feed." So, what we have to do is be careful what it is we're feeding, or feeding into, not just with food, but with mind.
Right.
And what it is that we're believing. And we have to just sort of say, like we said earlier on, you got to let it bounce off of that inside and see how it resonates with you. It might not be the time. Maybe this moment, this time you heard this new information, might not be the right time for you.
But at least you're checking a box,
Right?
Because you heard it, and
when you hear it again,
and maybe
that might be the time.
It might be the time. You might be more familiar, more comfortable situation. Again, sometimes it's who gives you the information. You may just reject it just because of who's giving it to you. You go to a party, and some guy starts talking to you,
Right?
And you just don't want to hear what he has to say. We've all been in that situation.
Absolutely.
More times than not, it's political rant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you just don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah. And you just don't want to hear it. Maybe the guy is wrong, or maybe what? Maybe the guy is telling you truth, and you don't want to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
See?
Mm-hmm.
My party's the opposite party. So there you've labeled yourself, and you're unwilling to unlabel yourself and move on. You're a person first. You've put all these labels and compartmentals. The compartmentality of what you do with yourself is all self-done. And people may call you, out as being that or this, but that doesn't mean you are that or this.
It doesn't. And, you really are dealing with two things inside of you at all times. You are dealing with your ego, which is strictly connected to basically your sensory perception of all things, and then you're dealing with that would be your little s self,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're dealing with your big S, your capital S self, which is the basis of your entire existence, and that one of you that is the energy of life that's always been, always will be, and can never be destroyed,
Mm-hmm.
can never be created, all that stuff, and that is the one that has things correct, because if it wasn't, nothing would be here. There is a pattern, there is an archetype, there is a method to the madness, but it all has to play out to reach a level of experiential evidence. We have to see it, feel it. We've got to live it.
Is there any advice for getting through this? In that, since we've kind of experienced it, we still experience it. I still will not accept some information, but I try to be open.
Yeah.
But is there any?
That's why I always go with it. Just my life began to change drastically when I opened my mind.
When you opened up.
Yeah, somebody
to the
said, mind is
possibilities.
like a parachute. It works a lot better when it's open.
Yeah.
So when I opened my mind and walked away from all of my current belief systems at
There
the
you
time,
go.
and just didn't say they were wrong. I just said, okay, what if, or consider this, and see what else is there. We are all just basically a collection of everything we were ever told, sensed, tasted, ate, heard, seen, all of that. We're just a collection of that. And until we step out of that and say, okay, well, maybe there's something else over here that I don't know about. I mean, if you grew up in a very strong Christian home, more than likely you're going to be a Christian. If you grew up in a very strong home where Islam was rule, then more than likely you're going to be that. And the same with Judaism and all of these things that people follow from a religious standpoint. If that's where you are and that's all you've been fed, beginning with being spoon-fed, then until you're willing to step out and say, okay, well, what else is there?
Yeah.
Is what
Is
I
there
believe,
more?
Yeah. Is what I believe all there is?
Yeah. The what if, quote unquote. That's it.
Yeah.
What if?
Yeah.
What else is there? And that's where I came. I think that's merely the most profound moment where I asked myself, is there more?
Yeah.
Because I felt half empty.
It's like, why do my eyes hurt?
Yeah.
Because you've never used them.
Well, you're driving back from work and you had that long day and things maybe didn't go great and you didn't have the best lunch, little things like this and maybe somebody scratched your car. It can just be all consuming, but you just go, ugh. Well, there's got to be more than this because it seems like I'm just kind of wallowing in this, in a.
Absolutely. My one of my mentors and
who might that be?
Rick. He was
yeah.
brother from another mother, and
okay.
was very important in my life. He's since passed on. But one thing that he always said was that he had been a highly successful music performer, recording artist, and one day stepped in front of the mic on stage in front of thousands upon thousands of people and just said to himself inside, is this all there is? Is this it? And walked away because he just knew that that wasn't all there is. And he wanted to find the other stuff, to step outside of the comfort zone and see what else there was about this thing called life.
Some people have to go to the highest peak to realize that, but you can't discredit the fact that he was on stage with thousands of people in front of him and have that experience and then be able to say, hey, is there more?
Yeah.
Because some people would just like to have that experience thinking that's the end all to end all.
Right.
So here's the crux. Are we ever really happy? Probably not. You give a guy $1 million and he'll want two. You give a guy $1,000 and he's going to be really thankful, but still looking for more.
Yeah.
It's just this constant need to feed us.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm hungry.
And one of the other things that Rick had to say at one time, which I still carry with me because it made a lot of sense. He talks about happy hour, and people, they go to happy hour and they're happy for an hour. And then they go back to their life and perhaps not as happy anymore. But joy is something that stays with you. It's internal and eternal. So you have the joy, and happiness is, sort of an external feeling.
I kind of understand what he was looking for too. Being a musician, you've performed, I've performed. Maybe not in front of that big of an audience, but the fact is that there is a temporary, really, joy that you do get out of it. But then when you're done, it's not a very lasting. It's kind of like, okay, what have you done for me now? Or when's the next gig? Or what's the next great thing you're going to do? Because that's in the past. Yeah. So the joy, when we really seek that out, comes with the little things. Yeah. And somebody told me this, and it's like I remember I was going into work, and I was having this conversation with this guy, and I didn't think he was a very enlightened guy, but you never know what you're going to get.
No, you don't, yeah.
Because this guy really just hit it.
Yeah.
I mean, he was clueless for most aspects of his life, and he wasn't very good at the job that he did. But he did come up. Well, he was okay. You know, I'm not going to put him down or anything, but I'm just saying, I don't think that he was really, really happy. But he said, you know what? It's the little things that really give you the sustaining joy. And sometimes it's just the smile on a child, you know, your child, and you come home and you see them and they hold your leg and they give you that big hug. Of course, when they get past the age of 8, they don't do that, you know, but you have that for a little while.
Right.
You know,
Start hiding
smile
your
on a
wallet.
dog's face or whatever, but just little things, you know, sometimes just can be something that a nice gesture from a friend where, you know, just unexpected.
But you have to be alert and aware to receive those little things.
Yeah, and I think you'll come in more contact with that if you put yourself in that vibration.
Yeah.
It's a vibration of, hey, you know, I can be happy with just what I have. You know, boy, did we deviate a little bit off the cognitive dissonance? I guess
yeah,
we're still.
We did, but we're still there.
Yeah, we're still there.
Yeah, we're still there because, you know, like you're saying, and my buddy being on stage, you know, being a rock star and, you know, all that stuff. And you say, wow, that must be exciting and wonderful and great and awesome. And it was, but there was something more.
Yeah. Deviating's fine. I didn't. That's what we're supposed to do. But I did want to bring up one of the things that, and if I'm off topic or I kind of touch on something, you know, that you don't want me to talk about, then just shut me down. But I think one of the best examples, at least with me, what I see with people right around me, and I use this this you know, this event because I think it was huge. But a lot of people will never, ever entertain that 9/11 was different than what was, you know, reported. And you could take tons of historical things where people are going to be on different sides of the argument here.
Right.
But cognitive dissonance, when I hear that, it really rings true when you look at like the evidence, the multitudinous of evidence that tells you one thing about that day of what happened or what didn't happen, and then the official story. And what it is, this one event creates a lot of confusion and a lot of discord, I think, within people because they go, oh, well, you know, I believe, and maybe I still believe kind of pretty much the official story, because if you start going, making it known to your friends and stuff, they'll go, oh, well, you know, you're a conspiracy theorist or whatever.
Right.
Don't want to be labeled like that. But you know what? Conspiracy theorists are at least asking the questions in order to get over the cognitive dissonance. So if they're doing anything, they're doing the right thing. And they're asking the questions as of the other group of people who are complacent and saying, well, this happened. I'm not going to entertain any new information or I'm not even going to think about. They're holding themselves back. And if in fact we find out that everything was exactly as it was reported, which I doubt, fine. But at least I did my internal search. And
we haven't even figured out what happened at Dealey Plaza, for God's sake. We're waiting on 911.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the whole 9/11 thing was what really brought to light for me cognitive dissonance as a term that people were beginning to use, simply because there were so many questions. I mean, I want to know what's wrong with asking questions. I remember being a kid, and I asked. I was very inquisitive of the religion that I was raised in, and I asked a question to a representative of that religion, and the answer was, "Well, there are just some things that we don't ask God." My response was, well, why not? I mean, if you're the one that's telling me God knows everything, he's omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, then who better to ask this question of, right? So when
who told you this?
It was a priest. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've heard a lot of things. That's a little bizarre that you couldn't. Like, was he like out to lunch? You know, you can't.
Just. I think that was.
No,
just
not him. I mean, God's out to lunch. Put a little sign that you can't ask him
he
right
went
now.
Fishing.
He went fishing. Sorry, you're gonna have to wait till tomorrow to ask your question.
So that was like that made me want to ask even more.
Yeah. Well, see, that's just it. God's always there.
Yeah.
For you.
Sure.
it's the question is, are you there for God?
Right.
You know?
And you have to, you simply, and that's another thing that connected with the whole cognitive dissonance thing is, trying to have any sort of discussion about, religion and God and Allah and all of the other names that have been granted.
Heavy
to this.
conversations.
Yeah. And it always ends up just falling apart. And and I figured this out, the first question you really need to ask somebody is, to you, who or what is God? You have to start there, because if you don't start there, then the rest of it's just going to be a big mess. There's a great book that was written called America's Four Gods, and it was based on a nationwide study that went to just thousands of people, asking them that very same thing: who is God to you? What is God to you? And what does this mean?
Well, that's the question I started asking.
Yeah,
and it's
it was
amazing.
4 different categories that it ultimately ended up being in, and none of them really can coexist.
Everything else is just kind of circumstantial. The real question is there a God? See, when you ask that question, that brings into it brings you into a place where anything can happen, and usually it's a good thing.
Yeah,
because you're asking the right question.
Yes,
And that question is just it's everything. And by asking that question, of course, more questions will come, but those questions might not have arrived unless you ask that first question. You must ask who am I? What am I here for?
right,
Is there a God?
right.
What's my purpose? These are all kind of connected questions, but these are heavy.
Yes,
And the last thing you do,
many of which Alan Watts addressed very nicely. Yeah.
Well, a lot of philosophers have tried to tackle it, but you know what? Who in modern day is talking about this stuff, tackling consciousness with what's going on with today? Because no knock to Alan, he was brilliant, but 50 years ago was like lifetimes ago.
Alan passed in what, 1972?
70s, yeah, whatever. It was in the 70s,
like
but
yeah.
I mean, everything. I mean, it's just we're in a different age.
Well, it's not politically correct now. It's not PC. And that's what we're facing, unfortunately. So, why? Because somebody's going to get offended.
Well, the PC is causing the cognitive dissonance.
Right. So the PC
It's
causes
hand
the
in
CD.
hand. Yeah, and then you
have OCD.
OCD.
Right.
And I'm trying to get a PhD in OCD.
I see.
Yeah.
So, looking at the big picture, then, with all of this stuff, many of the subjects have become off limits.
Yeah.
Which really helps to water the garden of cognitive
Well, the
dissonance.
religion aspect is, I mean, some people say that's off limits. Don't question. Right. What we know, we already know everything already. And
right.
when that's your response, you probably don't know much at all.
Right.
Because you've closed yourself down.
Yeah, and you've also just left yourself open just enough for someone else's teachings to become yours. You take ownership of what someone told you.
Yeah.
And then you just stopped one day.
Right.
There was a point in time where you decided that there just was no need for more new information. I'm good. Thanks.
And you've
no more refills.
Yeah, and literally you've just almost recorded it, and then there's no new thought process. There's no additional thinking. There's no self-awareness or you coming into, hey, maybe this is, because I mean, when you have those aha moments, they're marked on your life clock.
Yeah.
Like little lights.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they're milestones.
They are.
I mean, it's huge.
It's critical.
It's critical. And the aha moments that I've had, as we call them, where you come into like all of a sudden profound clarity, clearness about, it can be anything. It can be even thoughts on religion, like, wow, what if God wasn't so external?
Mm-hmm.
What if God was within me,
mm-hmm.
but also within you?
Right.
And it's the same God.
Yeah.
And that was shared by everybody.
Yeah.
That's a profound thought, because that changes everything. Why is everybody chasing different
names, geography, languages?
Okay. Well, hey, listen. Look,
it's confused a lot of things.
Yeah.
Babble.
And I was just thinking about this the other day. How the division. Well, space,
Yeah.
and I don't mean to be outer space, but like physical space separation.
Yeah.
Has created this.
Yeah. Yeah. And division, division, two
Right.
visions.
Right.
It's really difficult to bring those two into the oneness, even for just a discussion.
And I'm certainly not looking for, and I know nor would you, a one type of religion, or what I would call a one world, religion. That's not what we're looking at either.
Yeah, Rome tried
fact,
that.
Yeah, I mean, they were met
That's
with
for another day too.
Yeah, that's another day.
Yeah.
That's a long. But because I really think that there is a force, a elite group of people that are pushing kind of a one world religion. Actually, they don't want you to have any God or any religion within you, and they want the religion to be to the state or to like a hierarchy of people.
Right.
But this is way off course. This is where you'd be under full control of you wouldn't have any freedoms at all, and we tend to we want to push against that with all force.
Yeah.
And it may not even take really physical force. It's just mental thinking.
Sure.
Don't
We are
subscribe.
we're 7 billion strong.
Yeah. And I think
forget
conscious
that.
thought can switch that in a dime. But
But if they keep us in separation, and in division, then they just keep us scattered.
and controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much easier to control that way.
Yeah. But so what I think what I'm trying to get to is a point where you're still welcome to have whatever beliefs you have, right or wrong. I mean, if you believe in Mohammed or Jesus, or you don't believe in any of them, or whatever you want to believe in.
Right.
I'd like to think that I'm trying to find the one truth to
Yeah.
it all.
Yeah.
But I know
There
that
is a common thread.
and that's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you believe in this, and this. There's a common thread, and I believe that most religions espouse goodness.
Yes.
They want,
At the very root.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
cults, no.
Yeah.
But generally, and I find most people in different religions to be, good people. But I find that the people without this comfort of knowing that there is this greater, beautiful presence, God, and it's within you and it's within me, they're cut off from completely from, I guess you could call it the love vibration, but they're just cut off. And I believe that a lot of this is cognitive dissonance.
Sure.
Is coming through people not having completely the wrong foundation.
Yeah,
and they're aligned with
Yeah, and so many of these principles and
forces.
concepts that these forces
Yeah.
have put forth are absolutely brilliant.
Oh.
Some of the greatest plans ever in the history of humanity have been put in place by these guys. And it's just amazing to me because, we talk about, you and I, we talk about ancient wisdom. We go back to Egypt. We go back to Greece. We go, all over the place with some of the foundational writings and pictography and, hieroglyphs and everything else that have brought us to where we are today. And you and I are able to see truth among all of these things because we're now able, we've removed the blinders and we can see that there is a common thread, a common denominator that runs through all of this.
And by
it's a ley line,
And exactly. And by connecting these dots reassures us on everything that we believed before.
Right.
We just keep, and it's almost like finally we by connecting enough dots, we have almost a picture that we're creating. The puzzles, finally, the pieces are coming in together, and you can just wow, and it's a beautiful picture. I mean, you're creating it, you're painting it yourself,
Right.
And when you're almost done, you can just look at it and say, "Wow, this is beautiful," and that's your life.
Yeah.
But what do you want to create?
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
want to?
we are the sculptor and the sculpted,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
and
But we already have it in our mind, what we desire. It just has to manifest.
right.
You see.
And we might have already who knows? We might have already created this before, and we're going through it again. There's a familiarity about the way I feel, like what I'm doing. Yeah. It's a comfort feeling knowing that I'm not second guessing myself. I'm going, deep down inside, I know that there's something real, something tangible, something that just moves me, that makes me feel alive, that I'm connected to, and it's not external, it's not extraneous, it's within me, and I just know, and I want to tap into that because there's nothing more beautiful. It gives you everything you need, inner energy or whatever you're looking for, but it's powerful.
Yeah,
and it's right there.
It is right. It's right here.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about that drive home, where you might have had a bad day or this or that. The other thing, but you're in the car and you're talking about it. Well, who are you talking to?
Yeah, who are you?
You're by yourself. Who are you having this conversation with? There's got to be more than just what you see in the mirror. The mirror allows you to see the image, and then it's no longer needed.
Right.
Once you see that image. So we have to have that duality. We have to have, even though it isn't duality, it's polarity, but we have to have the concept of looking at other things to see what they are. And by dealing with cognitive dissonance, we're cutting ourselves off from that.
Yeah.
And we're just saying, no, I don't want that. Well, okay, time to move on.
Yeah. So do this. If you're listening, do this today, tomorrow. Don't wait. Take a subject that you're very interested in, that that you may have a problem with. Something. It can just be anything in the current world today. I mean, take water, food, air.
Whatever.
9/11, doesn't matter what you take. Something that you just want to know more about, and then take that first move. Invite the information to you.
Yes.
Go looking for it, whatever. But pick a topic that you're interested in. That way it'll hold your attention, and see if you can move yourself.
Yeah.
Test yourself.
Yeah. Not only move yourself, but move yourself out of the way.
And guess what? You're never going to lose yourself. You're not, and don't worry about that old person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They'll be there if you want them to be there.
Yeah.
But once you do this, if you obtain new information, whatever, wow, guess what? You're going to grow a little bit, and maybe the new you will be better than the old you.
Yeah, and pick something that explores a level of that thing that you're looking at that you've not explored before.
Yeah, an example would be, hey, the pyramids. The Great Pyramid of Giza, beautiful structure. Okay.
Yeah.
So you say the Egyptians built it. Well, guess what? I don't know how they got the big pieces up there, but let's just say that there's something else there.
Yeah.
I want to find that out.
Sure.
But I'm gonna approach it and not cut off the information. I'm not going.
Not
forget
say
that.
Well, that's a conspiracy theory. I don't
I heard that before, and that's stupid. Mm-hmm. No, you know what? You never know.
Right.
Just be open, and amazing things will happen. I really believe, and it may not be that specific information, but something will come to you through that research.
Sure.
In fact, that research might trigger something else.
Yeah, and it might not come to you right now. You might need another trigger later.
And the payoff may not be immediate, and that's the
Right.
problem with this instantaneous satisfaction, the minor celebrityism of everybody now on social media.
Yeah.
They want to do a post and then have a million hits by dinner time. Hey, I'm popular, whatever. Yeah, you know what? Maybe you are, but but the fact is that patience, good things will come to you.
Yes.
And I truly believe you'll always get what you're ultimately looking for. But you have to be honest with yourself. Most people are never honest with themselves. What are you thinking about?
Right.
Well, I'm thinking about saving, the world and the seals and helping out the homeless and everything else.
Right.
Sure, we all think those thoughts, but that's not probably the first thing. Be honest with yourself. What are you really consumed with?
Yeah.
And then if it's something that's an unproductive thought, something that that you can't really share, well, maybe you have to move and that's where this conscious thought each day, thinking about this stuff, will provoke wonderful tidings to you.
Yeah, and read something you normally wouldn't read. I forget who said it, but they said it's people believe what they read because they read what they believe. So read something you don't believe. Check something else out.
Yeah.
See, and then compare. Go shopping.
Yeah, and we're not talking about crazy stuff either. It could just
No.
be, put it this way, friend, you may disagree with a friend on Facebook, and they've sent you an article that you never cracked open.
Go open
there you
it.
go. Open it.
Right.
This is what I'm talking about.
Right. And
you probably already have
don't
something.
scan it, but read it through.
Yeah, read it through and read it through with an open mind. But
And don't be judgmental.
Of the other person
don't come
or
to,
of
right. Don't
yeah.
come to a conclusion immediately.
Yeah.
Just let it sift.
and if there's anything in there, check it,
Right.
research it, the facts or whatever.
And then research that check.
Yeah. Now you're going to go, oh, okay, I don't have time for all this. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, well.
But that's why we're saying just do one thing.
Yeah.
And if it proves itself worthless, then at least you went through the exercise. But I'll pretty much guarantee you're going to get something out of it, and you may not realize it right after the fact. It could be at a later time.
Yeah.
Where what you researched or what you did, something else triggers, and you go, wow, if
Yeah.
I hadn't done that, I would have never known this or whatever.
Yeah, I a lot of times, me with my books, right? So I love books, and so many times I stop by, used bookstores and flea markets and stuff like that.
Isn't that the greatest thing in the world?
It's awesome. I was at one today, and I picked up a book today. It cost me 50 cents. And each time that I do this, it doesn't take but just a few minutes to just stop in one of these places and I just scan. I just do the scan thing and see what I'm being led
The
to.
book
or
will
what I'm
call
being-
to you.
Right, and what
It's
I'm being
going,
directed to. And
"Hey,
then
I'm over here."
it just jumps out. Hey,
Read me.
pick me.
Yeah.
And so I do, and it's always an awesome read.
You're going to get something from it.
Right.
And for 50 cents, really,
That's it.
You can't even buy a pack
even
of
if
gum
it
anymore,
stays
but-
in the private office with you.
Yeah.
Just
No.
just leave it in there. When you're in there for those few minutes, pick it up.
No, some of the best books I ever read were, I was at the beach and, I need a book for the beach. So,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to run down to the used bookstore. I remember getting this great book on being a salesman.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. But this was a long time ago. I learned so much from this, what looked like a really stupid book.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Because from the cover,
Sure.
it was the guy, he's pointing at you like, hey, look at me and all this stuff. But I was going, oh my gosh, this is going to be a joke. And I almost kind of read it thinking it would be.
Yeah.
But I opened myself up, and what a wonderful teaching I got from it, and an experience that I remember to this day.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm reading a book now called Psycho-Cybernetics. And it's amazing. It's a book that so many
You read
people
that before you go to sleep? Or?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And so many people have talked about it for so long. Even Wayne Dyer said it changed his life. So I figured, okay, well, there's got to be something in this. And it's funny. I'm out on a section right now that they're talking about salesmen, and how if you use the power of your mind to go through every single situation that you might be,
Permutation
that you might be presented in by a prospective client or by a client, then you'll be prepared for that when it actually happens, and you'll actually improve your salesman ability by 150, 200, 300%.
And guess what? That's probably true for life and life situations and relationships.
Yep.
Of course, that's very cumbersome.
Yeah.
But the things that are most important to you, you should go through A, B, C, and D. Why not?
Why not?
And I'm going to tell you this. What you just told me about, the success being a successful real estate person or salesperson, whatever.
Yeah.
This is what I would do. Literally, the night before, you have to prepare.
Sure.
And you can always tell. I remember one time I walked into a meeting once, and I said to myself, God, I should have prepared, but I'm just going to wing it.
Yeah.
And guess what?
You should have prepared.
I should have prepared. My God, it was like I got a call from my
But
client.
you did it
like,
once.
What were you? Yeah, and I did it once. And
Yeah.
the thing is that I learned. But I knew, and I don't know if I created that situation because I manifested.
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
But it was good that I did that because I knew that I wasn't ready, and I saw the repercussions from that. So
Right.
the thing is that you do have to prepare for things, and some things you don't. No, but when you have to do stuff. But this is where you have to take this on yourself.
Yeah.
No, there's no test tomorrow on this.
No.
There's
This is the test.
This is, and really, in retrospect, it's probably more important than all those other things.
Yeah.
Because what is the goal of your life?
Yeah.
Is it that one sale that you had to do right then, or is there a more important, higher teaching, higher aspirations for you?
Yeah.
Then guess what? It's there.
Yeah.
All you have to do is invite it.
In school, we are given a series of lessons,
Mm-hmm.
and we take a test. In life, we take a test, and we're given a series of lessons. And so, when you look at it that way, it just really, it's eye-opening. That's why, going back to our initial subject of cognitive dissonance, I don't understand why people don't want to know more, or what else is there, or not even so much as if I'm am I right or wrong. It's not even about being right or wrong. It's just about finding out more, and finding out what works for you. Because see, there's truth with a capital T, and then there's truth with a little t. Sorry. That's the water. The little t truth, we all have our own personal truths. We have something that's true for me. It may not be true for you.
Yeah. Those are the little T's.
Yeah, but the big T truth, I think, is what will ultimately bring all of us into harmony with the actual vibration of all that is.
But you almost want to shake somebody and say, hey, wake up. Just listen to this or see this. Yeah. When I started waking up, and I had a very good friend. We were very close, but it was a very superficial kind of relationship. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't any. We never discussed anything too deep.
Acquaintances.
If it got too deep, it was really awkward.
Yeah.
But his favorite.
How about those Rams?
Yeah, how about those Rams? Or no, I think it was the Bears.
Bears.
Yeah, the Bears. So, but one day I was talking, and he just. Man, I don't know where you're getting these thoughts. I just want to go in there and scrub your brain, and I thought that was.
He said that to you?
He said that to me, and I thought that was a complete. I mean, wow, how obnoxious!
Yeah.
I mean, you want to scrub my brain?
Right.
Well, I think your brain is the one. So here we go.
Yeah.
We probably both weren't awake, but I was looking.
Yeah.
And searching. So.
Yeah. But what if we could just sit down and you could say to him, why do you want to scrub my brain? And then I'll tell you why I want to scrub your brain.
Well, it makes him feel more comfortable.
Sure.
It's all about him.
Sure.
He could really care
he
less
wants
about
you
me.
To think the way that he does.
Yeah. And he wants his old friend that thanks acts, talks, and reacts the same as he does because that's comfortable for him.
Sure.
But if I start questioning things, big things,
yeah,
if we're on different sides of the money issue, he doesn't like that.
No.
And
see, comfort is key because that's what keeps the cognitive dissonance brewing.
That's also
is the level of comfort in staying where you are.
When I got comfortable enough and I started owning these thoughts, it affected my work because I wasn't being truthful with myself. I was with other people, and if they asked me a question, I had to be honest, and the answer might not have been what they wanted to hear.
Yeah.
In fact, I know it wasn't.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
Yeah.
I just
and
tell
just
people,
look at
why
you.
did you ask me?
Yeah. Well,
don't ask me. I'm going to be honest with you.
It's and it's funny because you see that the conflict there is the same conflict that I have within myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out, hey, what is right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I have these conflicting beliefs?
Yeah.
I don't understand. This makes sense and this makes sense, but they can't both make sense because they both mean two different things.
Right.
So it's we should on a daily basis at least try to simplify and uncomplicate ourselves, although you have to go through all the crap to get there.
And listen to the other person.
I am.
So many times, so many times we are spending the time while the other person is talking, working on fabricating what our answer and response is going to be, instead of listening to what they're saying. So please take the time to just kick back, listen to what the person's saying, and then formulate your response.
Right.
But if you miss what they're saying, then what good is your response?
And if you care about them
Right.
genuinely as a person, respect them and their thoughts.
Yeah.
Don't call them stupid.
Right.
Don't put them down.
Yep.
This is not a mature, productive way
No, it isn't.
to grow, either of you.
Sure.
And if you really want them to know something, be patient.
Yeah, and always remember my favorite question. What if there's more?
And on that note,
What if there's more?
what if there is more?
There will be next
There
time
will be.
around. Thanks, buddy.
You've been listening to Quantum Flow Radio. Email us online at quantumflowradio@gmail.com.